Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of From Dusk Till Dawn, as well as the latest episode of Aftermath. Starting off with From Dusk Till Dawn, a very interesting episode. Gotta give props to Amaru. Can kind of kick some serious ass. I wasn't expecting, because you think like, oh, she's the queen. All she can really do is have other people do her bidding. Granted, I completely forgot about the fact is that when she was in Kate's body, she was kicking some serious ass, especially when she was going up against Scott. But it's just like interesting seeing her back in her full body and kicking ass. Her and Santanico like knuckle up. I mean, that was like after she already kicked the hell out of Richie's ass. But then her and Santanico go at it, which just seems like, Santanico kind of got the upper hand. I know, like, I always refer to her as Santanico because it's just kind of like that's how you know her as, but I mean, really her real name is Kisa, but she doesn't really bring that up too often, but it's just like, for, title purposes, I always kind of was like, oh, like the episode, the week before last, I was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was like the title was like, oh, Santanico and Carlos were trying. I could have put Kisa, but it's just like, Santanico's the name that she's known by, so it's just like, I just find it easier just to refer to her that. Every once in a while you probably hear me kind of bounce back and forth and call her Kisa, but nevertheless, it's not the point. It was pretty epic. I was almost scared when the fact is that Kisa, when I just did it there, couldn't get her wings out because like whatever Amaru was doing to her. I was like, the Amaru picked up her blades. I was like, oh, she's about to cut off your wings, aren't she? She's stabbing her in the back. I was like, oh god. It's like, okay, she stopped. Mainly because Kate, they were able to luckily save her and stop the bleeding and everything, but surprising enough too, Kate kicked some serious ass in this episode too, but it's just like after everything they've been through, it's like of course she's gonna pick up some stuff here and there. But Kate's kind of the key because apparently her and Amaru are still connected. So that's one reason why Amaru couldn't kill her. She tried to eventually use Scott as a way. It's like, oh, if you keep going forward, I'll kill him. Because she's like, hey, the only way I can end this is if I cross the gate, and that's how I end this all, closing the portal and whatnot. But Seth isn't all for that because it's like, yo, this ain't the life you're supposed to be having. Just like, what life am I supposed to have? I'm supposed to be off at prom somewhere. It's just because Seth, blames himself because it's like this whole situation happened because, him and Richie kind of brought them into this, so he feels responsible for her, especially after everything. They thought she was dead and now she was alive and possessed, and now that she's okay again, it's like he's trying to make sure she stays alive. He's not trying to let her sacrifice herself. But Kate's like, I have to do this because it's like, you had the opportunity to end this. You could have killed me. But he's like, I've done a lot of bad things in my life. I'm not denying that. No one can deny that. But he wasn't going to make Kate one of those things. But anyway, the whole, like, it's sad. At the end of it, like, sad that, like, Bert wasn't able to make it through this. I was so hoping Bert didn't get to make it through it. Neither did Zanina. It just sucks that they didn't get to make it through this. But gotta admit, they kind of took Amaru out in a very interesting way. It's just like, Kisa threw the blade, and then you had Kate going over, like, reaching her hand into her stomach, and then, like, these hands start reaching out and start clawing at her face. I was so sure one of them was going to come up and rip her face off, but she ends up, getting pulled into the portal. Now, multiple things I have to bring up. One, what about Tanner? Because Tanner got pulled back into that world, too. So it's like, I guess we're just leaving him there till possibly next season, if not ever. I don't know. I feel like Zabalba is a big, it's been introduced. The portal's closed and everything, but I guess that could be where the next season comes from, if there is another season. But really, I'm hoping there is another season, because this season was very fantastic. And it's just, obviously there's not a lot to talk about. It's just like a big conclusion. It's just kind of, more so than anything, it's just kind of like more like certain things end off that I'm like, hey, this could be where it goes and stuff like that. So I'm hoping it comes back for a fourth season. Like I said, main person that kind of makes that decision is Robert Rodriguez. He gets to decide, like, well, do we feel like going to another season? Let's go another season. So really that comes down to him. So I'm just very interested to see where they take the next season. It's like, this season was amazing. It's like I said, so it's going to be interesting to see, whether they decide to kind of push forward the whole monster thing on just kind of a different level, or are they going to kind of take a step with certain things. I'll get to it soon enough, but certain things kind of make me think it's like, we might get a little bit of a season one vibe, maybe, probably mixed with what we got in season 3. Probably just taking all 3 seasons and kind of mixing it into something new. But we just have to wait and see. But the whole point I was making is like the fact is that Tanner got sucked in and we never saw him after that. Also, the fact is that Jaguar Warrior helped Richie out. I guess it's kind of the whole like, well, I lost about the fight between us, so it's like I kind of owed you. So he stepped up and helped Richie out. So that was kind of interesting. Another thing is the way that the world looks, Zabalba, like when Richie was on the other side. So I'm wondering, is it kind of bring Stranger Things into it? Is it kind of just like a flip side of their world? Is it the exact same world, but it's just kind of like different in that regard? For the little bit we saw of it, that's what it seemed like, but maybe that's not the case. It makes you wonder, will we ever see Zabalba like fully in the future or not, or is that like completely done? Is Amaru actually dead, or did she just kind of get trapped back in her original world? And also, like, the whole thing with Carlos, I don't get what the hell that was about. It's like, oh, Carlos made a deal, so he's a part of this, so he can't really interfere, but he's popping up all over the place giving people advice. It's like, okay, what the fuck happened here? It's like, oh, wait, I was thinking, like, okay, are we going Sixth Sense here? And it's like, you were the Sixth Sense. That's kind of, I don't know what I just said. And you're just like, you've been dead this entire time. It's like, so did they not really piece you back together? Just like, what the hell is going on with him? Didn't really get an answer for that. He just popped up over the place, giving advice. It also brings up something very interesting I didn't even think about, but kind of like, because it's like this was always kind of meant to be Richie's destiny right from the beginning. Like the moment that gas station thing happened, because he saw those girls there as monsters. Now it never even crossed my mind. It's like, okay, Richie was just going crazy, but Richie already had a connection. He already saw stuff, like because that's how Santanico was. Santanico part of his brain wasn't like bullshit, that was real. So, but it never crossed my mind to think like, oh yeah, that part of Richie's brain, like seeing monsters was, as we see monsters exist because of Zabalban, so it's like, even back then, this was the path he was meant to take. So it's kind of like, oh, does that mean Richie's part Zabalban? It's like, didn't really get an answer on that. So it's kind of like, what the hell does that mean? That's pretty interesting. Because I would love to see, like, in the next season, if we find out a little bit more about their past, like, there is some, because they are brothers, but, who's to say they had the same, mother or same father? Maybe the person they thought of dad, the same guy that abused them and that Richie ultimately ended up killing wasn't really their dad. Maybe he was just kind of like the dad. Because I don't remember their mom ever coming up in conversation. That'd be kind of interesting to see if that was kind of like where that might be going. It's like maybe their mom was actually Zabalban, maybe Seth's part Zabalban, or maybe the fact is he had a different mother, or like I said, a different dad than Richie. I'm very interested to see where that will take us. Like I said, the whole Tanner thing, I can't let that go. I was like, they're not getting back to that. Or like, nope. So I guess he's just stuck. I was halfway expecting when the episode ended, like, okay, we're going to see Tanner, and just, no, okay, no Tanner. So everyone's kind of just basically going their own way. You have Scott kind of going back on the road, but then like you have Kate deciding not to go with him. Which I really love the fact is that Kate's there at the end, because it's like, yo, Seth and Richie are back to kind of being robbers again, which they haven't been like heisting stuff since like back at season 1. Season 2 had some heists here and there, but that was more so for Santanico's sake of trying to take down Malvado. But it's like they haven't really been on very many heists. This is them kind of going back to basics. So that's kind of one of the reasons I'm like, yo, put a little bit of that season 1 spin on it, but also adding in the fact is that Kate's there. Just everyone's like, Seth's like, be cool, and it's Seth on the right and it's Richie on the left, and you have Kate coming up in the middle. Hey lady, be cool. It's like, what? That's so sick. It sucks for Scott, because his sister's not with him. And the interesting thing that did pop up too is the fact that you had Scott praying, during the whole situation with his sis. Because Scott didn't seem like the most religious person in the family. Out of anyone, it was mostly Kate, but for him to be there praying, especially after everything that's going down, but it's like, yo, I want to make sure my sister's alive and everything. It's like, part of you's kind of like, Kate, you should have went with your bro, because it's like, yo, he went through hell to kind of get you back. He's on the road again, so I'm guessing him and Fate and Glorious are going to kind of pick up. It's like, yo, find my bandmates and back on the road again, I guess. Santanico is going off to kind of lead her people, kind of step up in the queen role, I guess, kind of unite them. Because it's kind of interesting, because she kind of phrased it interestingly in this episode. Or was it Carlos? The fact of the matter is that it was Santanico who said it, that basically he brought them together, like brought together this ragtag team of people, culebras, humans, everybody came together. So it's like I said, very good season finale. I'm just very curious to see where everything progresses from here. Like I said, the 9 lords are all gone now. Amaru's not, like I said, I feel like Santanico's stepping up a role. I'm just like, what's going to happen with Carlos? Like, I'm literally saying that because it's like, I don't know. I was not expecting his character to pop up. Like I said, Wilmer Valderrama is like, dude, what do you like? I guess, like I said, it depends on the production schedule of like NCIS. I mean, not saying like I hope he keeps the job for a while because it's like, yo, I mean, besides I still need to catch up on everything, but it's like I wonder if he's gonna balance this and I mean, like I said, it depends on production schedule. So I do hope he pops up in the next season too. I mean, that's just kind of a lot of ifs and whatnot. Still ain't never got back to his girlfriend, played by Demi Lovato, but that could be for a multitude of reasons. Like, yo, she's touring and stuff like that. Just some, not, scheduling conflicts, so she wouldn't be able to pop up. I mean, I'm very curious to know whatever happened to her character. And also that other dude, I don't remember his name. He's the guy that in the season 2, the one who took the money that Seth had put up in the truck and is like, yeah, I like you and your brother. The one who got tortured too had his skin kind of ripped off, like half his face and everything. It was after Seth had packed up all the money and killed his girlfriend, the one that was actually working with Melvado the entire time. He took off with the truck. That was the last time we saw them. So it'd be kind of interesting if they kind of brought that back. It was like, hey, I'm reappearing. So that's kind of interesting. It would be very interesting to see what they would do with the 4th season. Like, what direction will we take? It's like, yo, Richie, Seth, and Kate, like, being bank robbers and everything. You also have Freddie kind of back with his family again. Seems like things might be working out between him and Margaret. I mean, who knows how long that'll last. I mean, he is a peacekeeper, so he's still part of this. Also, Dakota's side of the story is like she was just kind of thrown in there because obviously she's a doctor and everything. But it's like I feel like her story's not done yet too because she still wants revenge against Richie and Seth. Because that was the thing that popped up in this episode. It's like, yo, you got to pay the price. And Seth's done a lot of bad things. So it's like eventually he's going to have to pay the price. And Kate's kind of like, I had to pay the price for all the bad stuff I did. Even though it wasn't necessarily me, I was still there. I'm aware of everything that Amaru did while she was in my body. So, I don't know. And now moving on to this week's episode of Aftermath. So much happened. Obviously, we had Sally's funeral. They're burning the body. And Karen's just kind of like acting like she's okay when she's really not. Basically, everyone splits up. Basically, an interesting thing to me is the fact is that you had Booner, a.k.a. Wayne Brady, offering to give them help and everything, and Karen's just like, no, we're not going to accept help, and then Josh is like, no, we'll accept the help, and it's like, oh, you got to do it, and they shake it, and it's like, to me, it's interesting because it's like, it seemed like they kind of got off on the wrong foot a little bit last episode, more so than anything. It's like, oh, the entire time he's spending the time hitting on your wife. I mean, it was never really a thing, but still, you get what I mean. I brought it up last time. It's just like, it seemed like a little weird and awkward and just kind of like, hey, stop hitting on my wife like that, stop calling her booty and everything. But it's like, they seem like they're okay. So I'm very curious to see will we kind of see him more in the future or not. But you had Brianna, Devin, and one of the soldiers, as well as Josh, going to track down some professor, while you had Karen, Matt, Dana, and Martin dealing with going to like a camp that Dana counseled to kind of get supplies and whatnot. So I'll bounce back and forth. Let's start off with the camp, where we had like that situation where it's like Martin and Dana, like kissing and everything. It's like, ooh, like, things are getting heated. And she's talking about, yeah, oh, like we're about to have sex. Kind of basically saying like, we're about to have sex. It's like, wait, what? He's like, I have to bring it up again. It's like, yo, I'm a lot older than you. She's like, it doesn't matter. The world is about to end. I'm like, dude, really? You're about to do that here? It's like, it's weird, dude. I mean, for one, the age difference. I know age ain't nothing but a number, but still, come on, man. That plus it's like your mom and your brother could walk towards you at any moment. That's freaky. I mean, granted, that shit got shut down quick when the Vine monster tried to attack them, and it just like that completely killed the mood. So that was kind of interesting. I love how the fact is Dana, like Martin kept signaling her. It's like, look at her feet. It's like, okay. And Dana was about to say something. Martin's like, don't. And she's like, I can't help it. That vine at your foot is going to drag you underneath that house and it's going to eat you. And they're like, ha ha ha. And it dragged her under the house and ate her. And then the other lady's like, no. And start firing her shotgun underneath. It's like, that most likely did, no, not most likely. It definitely did more harm than good because that most likely killed her. It's like, you didn't have to worry about the vine killing her. The shotgun did it nice enough for you. Which, that whole situation, just the fact is that Karen's like, okay, we'll take half the food. It's like she bullshitted him and like, oh, there's all these well-trained people around you. Essentially turned the tides on them, got their guns, and it's like, where's my daughter? And why would you be an asshole like that? She's like, your daughter and that soldier boy, I killed them. Oh, and then like Karen snapped, bam, bam. shot the other one in the leg, and then unloaded into her. And then Dana pops up and is like, Mom, what the hell are you doing? Don't touch me. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's like, you gotta cut your mom some slack. Okay, it's not. Yes, it's back to that situation because we saw how she acted when Josh killed him. It's like killed those guys a couple episodes back. It's like, Dad, you didn't have to kill them. They were going to let us go. No, they were going to come after us. And it's like, in that situation, it's kind of like, later on, Josh was kind of like, well, shit, that would do it. I mean, it legitimately was their fault. They literally told your mom that, told Karen that they had killed Dana, but I mean, Dana's like, still, that doesn't, it justifies it, because it's like, yo, she's already lost a sister, and they're telling her they killed one of her children. It's like, who'd expect her to be rational in that situation? I mean, hell, who's to say Josh would be rational in that situation? Because like I said, we've seen Josh's darker side. Now we're kind of seeing Karen's, but I mean, it's kind of like she's going through grief. I mean, she's not really letting anyone in and letting anyone help, but still, you can't really 100% blame her. You even had Dana kind of smoking a cigarette at the end of the episode. It's like, wow. I mean, it's just like, I feel like you gotta cut Karen some slack. I mean, but even Matt was kind of like, yeah, my mom lost it. She shot the lady like 20, 30 times. That was crazy. And it's just like, once again, they kind of asked for it. I mean, it's like, why would you say that to the people that have guns on you? It's like, don't test people. Like, that was stupid. You were just, legitimately, she was just trying to be an asshole, and it backfired, because it's like, what did you think was going to happen? And she's just going like, oh, that you would bother her and you get the upper hand? It's like, no, she didn't give you an opportunity because she put a bullet in your head immediately. So, like, that was stupid on your part. So, I can't believe she said that. You're an idiot. Because Karen's going to let you go. It's like, tell me where my daughter Martin is, and I'll let you go. Original deal was like, hey, split the food. You just we'll let you go. You let us go. Like, just leave it at that. But it's like, no, I mean, literally, Dana tried to save the other lady's life, and you're like, oh, like, she tried to explain, oh, there's monsters, which I guess they don't realize, I mean, I guess there's people out there just like, oh, monsters, pff, you're an idiot. There's nothing about, At this point in time now, that makes literally multiple people in this family have messed up bad. It's kind of that situation of like, man, not everyone in this family are necessarily good people. You take, what Josh did, and taking what Karen's done, you take the fact is that Matt ended up killing that dude, what's his name, Kevin, from a couple episodes back. He was kind of schizophrenic, but the dad didn't tell him. Or was Kevin the name of the dad? I don't remember. But basically his son that ended up dying because he was schizophrenic, and Matt was so sure that he was possessed. So, all the families all around kind of done some very type of thing. So, then you go into Josh's side of things, where it's like, where we get introduced to a freaking shapeshifter. Show does not cease to surprise me of all the things that go down and pop up in this show, because basically he met with that professor lady. I'm like, okay, something's a little weird. She's acting a little too damn calm to be like, just sitting there just all alone in this school. I was like, oh, she's possessed, and she attacks Josh, and then basically Soldier Lady shows up and shoots her, and she turns into water. I was like, what the fuck? It's like, okay, she's not. It's like, and then he tells a shapeshifter. I'm like, okay. And apparently, it's very interesting because it's like shapeshifters don't actually need a lot. They just need to touch like even a grain or a strand of your DNA, and it can automatically turn to you. Apparently, the professor was using this particular shapeshifter as a guard dog, because it's like they're not that smart. It's just kind of like all you have to do is be smarter than the DNA, and then you can basically get them to do whatever you want. It's like basically have it kill anyone that comes looking for her. She's basically like accepting the fact is the end of the world is here, and it's like, I was right. I love the fact is that she's like, okay, Josh, you can stay, but you can have a drink with me only because I'm lonely, and you just happen to be the only person here. What's so great about living and being right about the world coming to an end, everything going to shit, if there's no one to kind of point out and tell him like, hey, I was right the entire time. Especially because she had a problem with Josh, because Josh kind of screwed her out of a job, because he basically was like, him and other people kind of tore her down because she put this out there, and it's like, oh, she ended up losing her job, kind of got a little discredited, majorly discredited, and just basically, in her words, her life kind of fell apart. She's like, I didn't get married, I didn't have children, like, I just lost everything, So on top of the world ending, is like, I really got nothing to live for, which is kind of sad. She basically explains that basically all this is happening because of a wave, gravitational, whatever. She can't really explain it. It's just like a wave. Everything is happening because of a wave. What's causing it? Who knows? It's just happening. It's not necessarily the cause of everything. It's not like, oh, this wave is what made this, like, everything happen. like necessarily. It's like everything is happening because of the wave. Like it's not the wave is the cause of everything. It's just things are happening. And like I know that's not making sense, and that the whole point was she wasn't making sense. But basically, she's like, oh, all these earthquakes are happening, and it's like a volcano's going to go up. That basically dude on the radio might be tapped into all of this, and he might be predicting the future, because it's like, hey, how did you predict the future? Like you said, literally all this stuff is happening, monsters, the end of the world and everything. How did you predict it? She's like, she kind of thinks that maybe she's like tapped into like this wave of what's causing, that's tapped into everything. So I guess you can look at it as kind of like there's this like energy that's kind of like, hey, wipe out, like the world is getting wiped out, and like she can kind of tap into the universe a little bit, which was like, okay. I mean, really, ultimately, she wanted to die. I was like, okay, I was like hoping Josh would be able to convince her, like, because she was a little not right in the head because of everything that's going down. Because she was like, actually, I set up bombs everywhere. You got a minute to get out here. Josh is panicking, trying to get the clues that he needed, and a minute passed, no explosions. Like, okay, you lied. She's like, yep. Because she could never kill herself, and she wanted Josh to do it just because she couldn't stand living with this. More so than anything is because she was kind of tapped into it. It made her hate herself that much more. So that led to her, saying like, Josh, do it, do it, do it. But Josh wouldn't. But then the soldier lady that's with him does. Because she's like, when someone asks you to do it, you do it. Because this is the end of the world. People know what they want. So if someone wants to die, you let them. Told final words to Josh was like, listen to the voices in the night. And it's just like, dude, what the fuck is going on in this show, dude? It's like one thing after another of just like, this isn't making any sense. And I keep complaining about it, but it's like, it's not a bad thing. It's just, I want answers. I want answers. I think I legitimately said that this show was it this or something? It was either this or something else. I'm like, legitimately, this has become lost for me. It's like so many damn questions, hardly any answers. I guess the whole point is like, just enjoy the ride. And then the whole situation with Devin this episode, holy shit. First, threatening to kill himself because it's like, I want to protect you, Dane, protect Brianna from himself. Because it seemed like the entire episode he's pushing her away. He's like, stay away from me. And I'm like in my understanding, I was like, oh, he wants to protect her because he's like, he doesn't know if he can protect her, and he doesn't want to end up being in a situation where he can't protect her, and he's just scared, and he just wants, like, it'd be a situation where she's being attacked, but rather than being there to help her, he just ends up, killing himself. I mean, getting killed, or just kind of get in a way and getting her killed. So I was like, that's why he's trying to do this. But she talks him down and slaps us like, don't do this. I love you and everything. But then later on, it makes more sense when Josh showed up. But it's not Josh. It's the shapeshifter. And then Devin fights him back and ends up revealing like, oh, he's possessed or whatever, and snaps his neck. But then like ends up going to hug her. I was like, oh, so is he not possessed, or is that something else? Or is it like, oh, like he can control it or something? But it's like, no, he was just momentarily able to stop it from completely taking over himself. And then got to the sad part of the episode where he ended up killing himself because it's like he didn't know if he could like fight it, because Brianna's like, you can control this, I know it, you've done it. And he's like, I don't know if I can. She's like, you just gotta make sure you don't lash out, because my family's going to go ballistic and end up killing you. And but even when it was all said and done, he still fought back against it, because it's like, it wants to hurt Brianna, but he's like, he's like, I won't let you. He's like, you were right. Love can kind of save us, can, beat this thing. It's not stronger than love, because he was able to fight it, and sadly ended up killing himself. It sucks. Brianna kind of got a boyfriend and was in love with him. He loved her, and she fought so hard. It was like, he lived a lot longer than I was thinking. I literally thought the preacher, was going to kill him a couple episodes back. It was like 2 episodes back. I assumed the guy was going to show up and kill him, and it's like, oh, you're going to die at last minute. It's like, she's fighting to keep you alive and everything and get back to her family and everything, and you're going to end up dying. It's like, no, he ended up surviving. So I can only assume he ended up getting possessed back at the compound. Like when Wayne Brady was gone, shooting off all the blazes, but like, oh, all those skinwalkers kind of flying away. So I guess that's when one of them kind of possessed him at that point. So not unless he's been possessed a little while and he's fighting him, but it seems like that would have been an opportune time to get possessed. So that just outright sucked. I mean, literally episode to episode, you had Sally dying last episode. Now you have Devin dying this episode. You have like Karen just falling apart because of her sister's death. And now you got Brianna falling apart because of Devin's death. I mean, the fact of the matter is that showed you how strong he was and how strong his feelings for her were, because he didn't want her to get hurt behind. And that's what this whole thing was about. Why he was pushing her away, because he loved her and he didn't want to hurt her. He just couldn't bring himself to admit like what had happened. I was like, oh, dude, does that mean you're actually something else and you were just hiding this entire time? Because it's like, those, that thing Matt met a couple episodes back. So I was like, oh, you're something like that? But it's like, no, he was possessed and he was fighting it. That's the sad thing. There's no ultimate solution when it comes to the skinwalkers. Like, you kill one, sure, fine and dandy, it leaves the body, but it will go off and possess someone else. There's no permanent solution to taking those things out. And it's like the group is getting whittled down little by little, and it's only a matter of time till someone in the family gets possessed. There's no way of protecting against that. I mean, at least that we had, we've been introduced to so far. It's like, how do you protect against the whole Feverhead situation? Because it's like, I mean, as you saw last episode, it's like you could fight it with medicine and whatnot, but still, that's not enough. It's like, how do you prevent it from happening? How do you prevent yourself from being possessed? Guess as good as mine, dude. Very interested to see where everything goes from here. It ended on like the saddest freaking note, and it's just like Brianna like crying all over Devin's body. It's just like, dude, that sucks. That really, really sucks. And he fought so hard, dude. And she fought so hard to keep him alive, because she was like stopped him the first time, and sadly she wasn't able to stop him this time, mainly because it's like he knew he had to do it now, because if he didn't do it now, then it would hurt the woman he loved, as well as her family too, but mainly the woman he loved. But yeah, that's pretty much all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.